What's going on, guys? Welcome back to W.D.Y.D. CSP. What do you do as a central sterile processor? All right, let's continue with flexible endoscopes, and we're going to do the first step in the manual cleaning process, which is leak testing. All right, so I'm going to show you how to leak test a flexible endoscope. First things first is you have to have the right leak tester for the right scope. So this is an Olympus leak tester for an Olympus scope. This is a manual leak tester, and this is an automated leak tester. So I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of both. When it comes to a manual leak tester, you can do both dry and wet leak testing. Okay. The problem here is that it uh, relies on human observation. And if we're doing a wet leak test, we have to constantly make sure we're maintaining pressure if there is a damage to the scope. Okay. With an automated leak tester, this one here is only for wet leak testing. There are no gauges on here, so I can't dry leak test with this because I would not be able to tell if the scope had a leak. Okay, but for wet leak testing, it will continuously provide pressure and it will show you if there's a leak. So that's the positive of that. We want to do some lighted magnification, and we want to use 10 times magnification. You heard that right. For visually inspecting a flexible endoscope, it is required 10 times a lighted magnification, and you should do that prior to leak testing, because what's the purpose of leak testing a scope that is visibly damaged? All right, so let's start leak testing. But first, we want to make sure we remove all accessories. Now, this auxiliary cap was on. You want to take it off, but leave the accessory attached to the scope. This is one of those accessories that do not come off the scope, but it does not need to be closed in a closed position. We're going to go to the control body, and we're going to remove these. These are actually disposable parts to a single-use buttons. There are reusable buttons, and then you have a instrument channel port. You want to remove those and discard them. So we're just going to put these to the side because I use these for educational purposes, but we're going to remove the air water cylinder and the suction cylinder buttons. All right. Okay. So now all of our accessories are off our scope. We're going to go ahead and do the visual inspection with lighted magnification. What we're looking for is cracks or any breaks along the control body, the insertion tube, or the light adapter or the power connector. Okay, we want to inspect the buttons, we want to inspect the knobs, the biopsy port area. We're going to go to the light adapter again and make sure that this doesn't have any cracks or any of those connectors or joints there are not in the open position or any obstruction. We're going to inspect the insertion tube as well as the universal cord. We're going to definitely pay very close attention to the bending section. That is the most common area to find damages. So you're going to inspect that. Inspect the distal tip because that's where the ocular lens at and the light lens is at. So you want to make sure there's no cracks there. Okay, so once we've done our visual inspection, we're going to go ahead and do some leak testing. Now I'm going to do a dry leak test and I'm going to do a wet leak test. So first we're going to use the manual leak tester to do a dry leak test. So you're going to connect the leak tester to the venting port there. You want to make sure you press down and turn to lock it in place, and that opens up the scope. As you notice, I put this on and there's already pressure in the leak tester. Now, that's telling me that either the leak tester is damaged or maybe the scope was pressurized already. So that may be a damage, right? So we're going to go ahead and pressurize this. And as you notice, we're going to go right into the green zone. Okay, and you notice that right now it is maintaining very good pressure. Now, in order to properly leak test a scope, you want to manipulate the knobs. Okay, and manipulation will open up any cracks or any breaks or any damages along that insertion tube, the universal cord, the control body, or that light adapter. So you want to manipulate up and down, left and right, and make sure that they are in the free position. Do not try to force the knobs. Now, as you see, the pressure dropped rapidly when I moved the leak tester. So that either tells me that this leak tester is damaged or the scope is truly damaged. So because it dropped so rapidly upon movement, I'm going to put my money on the leak tester being damaged. So we're going to go ahead and do a wet leak test here. But before we do that, we want to turn the unit on. Okay, and you're going to use your finger to press the little button in there or the little activator. You should hear an escape of air or a change in the sound of the device. So this actually works. Best practice is to follow ST91 and verify the pressure of your leak tester with a leak tester tester. Okay, and you'll see the importance of that in a few minutes. Okay, so we connected our automated leak tester, and then we turned the unit on. Wait a few seconds, and now we're going to submerge this device in clean water. Okay, we do not want to use water with detergent in there because the foam, when you're manipulating that water or agitating that water, it may create some bubbles and you may confuse that with a leak. Now, when you submerge, you want to prime your channels, okay? Priming your channels is so that you get rid of trapped air within the instrument channel and the air-water channels. That way you do not confuse those bubbles with a damaged scope. So we're priming it in there, and we're going to do that till we don't see any more bubbles exiting the insertion tube. That may be 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4. This is only a 20 milliliter cc 20 milliliter syringe. So I'm going to do this a couple times to make sure that I get all the trapped air out of there. All right. So notice the leak tester is still on. You have not seen a stream of bubbles nowhere. Now we want to go ahead and manipulate the control body, right? The knobs, the buttons. We're going to angulate the distal tip up and down, left and right. And we're going to do this for the allotted time on the IFU, which I believe is 90 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to 30 seconds with up and down, 30 seconds with left and right, and then 30 seconds manipulating the function buttons on the control body. All right, we are looking for streams of bubble, and you want to make sure that you do this always under the surface of the water, including the control body, because a leak can happen anywhere across the scope. All right, so as you can see, there's no leaks. So this is telling me that I have a faulty manual leak tester, and I'm going to show you in another video what I found with this leak tester. All right, so that's why it's important that if you do have manual leak testers, that we have a method of verifying the leak tester. All right, so no leaks here with the wet leak test. We're going to remove our device out of the water. Keep the leak tester attached to the venting port. And for this specific model of leak tester, okay, you want to shut the unit down first. You want to wait a few seconds before you disconnect it at the power box, okay? You're not going to disconnect it from the scope just yet. You're going to disconnect it from the actual air unit box, okay? Once you remove that, you removed any trapped air. And then it's safe to remove the venting cap off of the scope. All right, so there you have it, guys. Wet, dry, manual, and automated leak testing. All right, guys, peace.